We got our first. It's stimulus round 2. We're going to show you how to determine whether or not you're going to get a stimulus check. And then we're going to talk about some things and give you some things to consider in terms of using that stimulus check, if you get one, to strengthen your financial situation and position. But first, we're always on the lookout for smart professionals as we grow our financial services footprint across the US and Canada. If you have a passion for all things personal finance and a desire to help people understand how to make their money work for them, we want to hear from you. We'd like to show you how you can start your financial services business by partnering with some of the most reputable names in the industry, including Nationwide, Aegon, Pacific Life, and many others. If you've ever considered investing in yourself by starting your own business, I want you to know that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Contact us using the email address in the link below. Let's talk about the future. All right, let's talk about how to tell whether or not you're going to get a stimulus check. But before we get into that, do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe, please. Share this video. What we're trying to do is hit 1,000 subscribers, because then our message, YouTube will allow it to be shared with more people. So go ahead, hit subscribe, do us that favor, and let's talk about this important subject. All right, first of all, the question is, will you receive a stimulus check? Well, I don't know, but I tell you who does, the IRS. And if you go to this website, irs.gov/coronavirus/get-my-payment, you go to that website and then you click this button right here, Get My Payment. You type in some information and the IRS will tell you whether or not you're getting one of these latest stimulus checks. So this is the information that you have to input, and then you hit continue, of course, and they'll let you know. Now, in addition to that, the IRS will also, if you're not getting one of the payments, it'll also let you know, rather, whether or not you're eligible to claim the recovery rebate credit. Now that could be available to you if you didn't get a stimulus check. The fact of the matter is, what I want you to take from this is, if you go to this website, you can discover whether or not you're going to get one of these payments, and it will also tell you when they put it in the mail, so it can kind of help you track it. Now, something else I want you to keep in mind. When the first round of stimulus checks went out, they reported that a lot of people were throwing those cards. They put it on a debit card, and a lot of people were throwing them away because they thought it was maybe some credit card offer or something that was not legitimate. The government didn't do enough education to let people know what to expect, and so a lot of people threw the cards away and had to apply for replacements. This time, they have said that what they're going to do is they're going to clearly mark the cards as coming from the U.S. Treasury, so you'll know, and so will would-be thieves that might want to go in your mailbox, but hopefully that won't happen. But you'll clearly be able to tell that this is coming from the U.S. Treasury and that it's legitimate. Okay, so that's how you're going to be able to tell whether or not you're going to get the stimulus. Now, if you do get a stimulus check, what are some of the things that you can do with that money to improve your financial situation? Now, I fully understand that most people, or many people who receive these stimulus checks, are going to need to use that money for groceries, to feed the family, and to pay rent and other immediate bills, gas, electric, and things of that nature. I understand that. So as we go through these, please keep in mind that I am speaking to that very specific audience who may get a stimulus check and have that money as some surplus cash, a little windfall, if you will. I just want to talk about how to be smart with that money and actually make it work for you, because these things don't happen every day. Tackling high interest debt is one thing you may consider doing if this stimulus check represents surplus money for you. Now, there's a smart way to pay down your debt, and I would highly encourage you to consider the cash flow index before you just go out and randomly put money on various high interest revolving accounts. So, what is the cash flow index? As popularized by Garrett Gunderson, the cash flow index helps you identify how to efficiently pay off debt. It prioritizes paying off the most inefficient loans first. Inefficient for you. They may be very efficient for the bank, but you're going to find out which bills, which credit accounts you really need to pay off first. And the method takes into account that all important factor, cash flow. So, how do you do it? It's very simple. You take your individual credit accounts and you divide the balance of the loan by the minimum monthly payment. You do that for each of your credit accounts or your bills. Now, once you do that, you're going to get a number. And if that number is 50 or less, it's a priority that you pay off that loan as soon as possible. Again, this method, it takes into account interest as well as cash flow and allows us to determine the most efficient way to eliminate and manage the overall debt situation. Additionally, this method ultimately results in you being able to pay less interest. It cuts down the life of the loan and bolsters your credit score. So you get a lot of benefits out of this. In essence, we're optimizing and prioritizing the cash flow aspect in order to benefit you instead of the bank. As you can see from the example, prioritizing the auto loan makes sense even though it has a lower interest rate than the credit card balance. And the reason for that is because if you can get that auto loan paid off quicker, then you're going to free up more cash for you. So prioritizing that, throwing any extra money you have onto that auto loan in this example is going to be very efficient for you. Now, you're going to still have to pay all your bills, but go ahead and concentrate on the one that has the lowest cash flow index score and then work your way up from there. Another thing you can do with your stimulus check is you could pad your opportunity fund. Now, you may have heard of the opportunity fund referred to as the emergency fund. I used to refer to it as that myself, but we've changed up the semantics on that a little bit because we want to open it up and we don't want to restrict it to just those unfortunate happenstances that may occur, four flat tires, a layoff, that sort of thing, but also make this a pot of money that is able to expose you to opportunity when that arises also. So let's say there's an investment that you have done your due diligence on and you have thoroughly researched, and maybe you've brought in a lawyer or a CPA on it to look at it as well, or you've talked to a professional. Then the opportunity fund is where you might want to draw some of that money from. Also, with the opportunity fund, you have to keep in mind that most of the time, what we'd like to see is between 3 and 6 months of expenses in that fund. Now, you don't want too much in there because this is money that is going to be available to you. So, let's say the savings account portion of a opportunity fund, you don't want too much in there. And we've talked about this in other videos that if you do opt to put at least 15% of your opportunity fund in a savings account, what you want to do is more than likely research an online bank because they're going to be able to provide you with additional interest that you wouldn't get at a brick and mortar establishment. Now, the brick and mortar establishment, it also has its pros. Chief among them is the ability to go right down to the bank and get the money out the same day. Some of the online banks take up to 48 hours, but that's not a bad thing when you consider that that's helping you become more disciplined and preventing you from having that immediate access could also be the difference between you spending money needlessly on an impulse item. Give yourself some time to think before you just spend money in that way. So the opportunity fund is another place you can put this money. Now, before we stop talking about the opportunity fund piece, remember the other half or 85% of an opportunity fund, you may want to keep that in a cash value life insurance policy because it is liquid. You can touch that money, get your hands on it at any time, but it also has a good return. It also has some tax advantages that you can be tremendously benefited by. So, if you'd like to talk in more detail about how to properly structure your opportunity account, that's what we're here for. Another place you can put a portion or all of your stimulus money is into your Freedom Fund. Now, you may have heard the Freedom Fund referred to as a retirement account. I want to change up the paradigm here. I don't want to refer to it as a retirement account simply because that nomenclature, the word retirement, it means something specific in our country and in the Western world. It means you work for 30 years and then after that, you leave the company you were working for. And, people actually tout the fact that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, if I'm in a lower tax bracket, that probably means I'm making less money. And I'm making less money in the future when inflation is probably higher and taxes are also probably higher. Why would I want this traditional definition of retirement? Why would I want to be saddled with that? So the Freedom Fund takes into account the fact that we're in a new world. No one is working 30 years for one company anymore. You've got the gig economy. You've got a lot of entrepreneurialism out there. You've got side hustles, okay? And your Freedom Fund, that money is set aside so that it can start to work hard for you so that at some point the money's out there working for you instead of you working for it. This is the fund that's going to allow you to have experiences in life, to go places, do things, that sort of thing. Let's change up the paradigm with regard to what this looks like after you have amassed this sum of money. Why are you doing that? You're not doing that to shuffle out onto the golf course and play 9 holes and then come back and play pinochle with the rest of the seniors. No, presumably, a lot of people want to retire before 65 or 70 and enjoy a large portion of their lives. The opportunity fund, if structured properly, can enable you to do just that. Now, typically, when people talk about this stage of their life, being able to cut away from the day-to-day grind, they often think that their 401k and traditional IRAs, they're going to be able to help them do that. But I'd like you to consider this. We just racked up with this stimulus and the one before over $27 trillion of debt as a country. Now, that's going to have to be paid back at some point in the future. When does the IRS give you the ability to access your 401k and IRA? In the future. So when those taxes become due, because right now they're deferred until age 59 and a half, but for many, when those taxes come due, we're going to be in a world where we have a higher tax obligation. This $600 that you're getting is not free money. This is money that's coming out of the treasury that's going to need to be paid back. So effectively what's happening is the government is taking it out of one pocket and then putting it in another, and they're going to take it out again. So what you have to have this money do optimally is go out there and work for you to mitigate some of what's coming down the pike. All right. So a properly structured permanent life insurance policy is a place where you can avoid a lot of the future, all of the future taxation. You can also watch that money grow without being touched by taxation. So if you'd like to talk about ways to mitigate taxation and allow your money to grow unimpeded, Let's have a conversation. But those are some things that you can do with this stimulus. And oh, by the way, they're even talking about a third stimulus. So we'll track it and we'll let you know what happens.